Do you believe he's alive and in Malaysia?
You just have to tune into the show for my answer.
Oh, come on.
That was Suge Knight's son, and he isn't the only one whispering it. For years now, photos have surfaced, witnesses have come forward, and posts have claimed Tupac, who would be 54 today, is living somewhere far from the spotlight. Today, we're following the trail and examining the evidence, and some of what we found is genuinely shocking. Let me break it down. The night everything changed. To understand why anyone believes Tupac Shakur is alive at 54, we have to go back to the night the official story says he died. Because the entire mystery is built on the events of one evening in Las Vegas and everything that followed. It was September 7, 1996. Tupac and Death Row Records boss Suge Knight were in Las Vegas to watch the Mike Tyson vs. Bruce Seldon fight at the MGM Grand. Tyson won in 109 seconds. The night was supposed to be a celebration. Tupac was 25 years old and at the peak of his career. His double album, All Eyes on Me, was dominating the charts, and he had just wrapped filming on the movies Gridlocked and Gang Related. But shortly after the fight ended, around 8:50 to 9:00 p.m., surveillance cameras captured a brawl in the MGM lobby. Tupac and his entourage confronted a man named Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, a Southside Compton Crips member. Anderson had allegedly been involved in robbing a Death Row associate at a Foot Locker store weeks earlier. Tupac threw the first punch. The beatdown was caught on tape, and it would later be described as the spark that lit the entire fuse. After the casino fight, the group returned to their hotels to regroup before heading to an after-party at Club 662, a venue connected to Suge Knight. Tupac climbed into the passenger seat of Suge's black 1996 BMW 750i. The two of them led a small convoy of cars through the Las Vegas streets. Here is where the timeline tightens minute by minute, around 11:00 to 11:05 p.m. A Las Vegas Metropolitan Police bike patrol stopped the BMW on Las Vegas Boulevard. The reason was a loud stereo and missing license plates which were sitting in the trunk. The officers let them go after Suge fixed the plates. No ticket was issued. They drove on only minutes away from disaster. Around 11:10 p.m., the BMW stopped at a red light at the intersection of East Flamingo Road and Colville Lane, right in front of the Maxim Hotel. Tupac, in a good mood, leaned out toward two women in a car beside them and invited them to the club. The mood was still light. Nobody saw what was coming. Then around 11:15 p.m., a white four-door late-model Cadillac pulled up on the right side of the BMW. The window rolled down, and a shooter in the back seat opened fire, unleashing roughly 12 to 13 rapid shots from a .40 caliber Glock. Tupac was hit 4 times, twice in the chest, once in the arm, and once in the thigh and pelvis area. One round tore into his right lung. Suge was grazed in the head by fragments but stayed conscious. He floored the accelerator, made a wild U-turn, and sped toward help with the bullet-riddled BMW filling with blood. Tupac was rushed to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, just steps from where the night had started at the MGM Grand. He was alive, but barely. This is the moment the official story and the legend split into two roads. According to the record, this is the beginning of the end. According to others, this is the beginning of the escape. And to understand why so many people refuse to accept that Tupac died in that hospital, we need to look closely at what happened over the next 6 days and at the man who was bleeding right beside him. 6 days and a sealed decision. To understand the doubt that surrounds Tupac's death, we have to step inside the hospital where the world held its breath for 6 agonizing days. Because what happened inside those walls and the haunting decision made at the end is where the seed of disbelief was planted. When Tupac arrived at the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, he was in critical condition. Doctors placed him on heavy sedation and life support. They treated his shattered right lung, which had taken the worst of the damage. For the next 6 days, the man who had survived poverty, prison, and a previous shooting clung to life while the entire world waited for news. His mother, Afeni Shakur, flew in immediately. She was no stranger to fighting impossible battles. A former Black Panther who had defended herself in a landmark court case while pregnant with Tupac. She was a woman who knew how to stand against overwhelming odds, and at first there was hope. According to family accounts of the hospital vigil, doctors told Afeni that even with one lung, her son was strong and healthy enough to potentially recover if he could be placed in a quiet environment for 6 months of rest. Afeni was ready to do exactly that. She was prepared to fight for her son the way she had fought for everything else in her life. But the body began to fail. His organs started shutting down one by one. According to Afeni's own later accounts, something extraordinary and heartbreaking happened during those final days. She described how her son's heart stopped multiple times, and each time doctors revived him. She spoke of watching him slip away and be pulled back again and again, until a profound and painful realization set in. In her own words, Afeni later revealed her belief that her son had made a choice. She said the family came to believe that Tupac did not want to stay, that his heart stopped and was restarted several times, and that ultimately she asked the doctors to stop reviving him and to let him go. Sit with the weight of that for a moment. A mother who had survived so much, who had walked into that hospital ready to nurse her son back to life over 6 long months, instead had to make the most unthinkable decision a parent can make: to let go, to stop the fight, to accept that her child was choosing to leave a world that had tried to destroy him more than once. The raw grief of losing a son never leaves a parent. In one reflection, Afeni captured the bottomless ache of that loss in a way that stays with you.
I miss him. I miss him. I can't pick a one thing. I miss him.
The pain in those words is the kind that doesn't fade with the years. It only deepens.
I miss my son every day a little bit more, but I thank God every day for every second that he was here.
And even through that grief, there was a strange gratitude and acceptance that perhaps she had been given exactly what she was meant to have and no more.
I don't want to ask for too much, to ask for more than I was supposed to have. I thank God for every day of those 25 years.
On September 13, 1996 at 4:03 p.m., Tupac Amaru Shakur was pronounced dead. The official cause was respiratory failure and cardiopulmonary arrest due to multiple gunshot wounds. He was 25 years old. And then came the detail that would feed the doubters for decades. His body was cremated the very next day. To some, that speed felt rushed, even suspicious. How could a death this enormous, this globally significant, be wrapped up and erased in a single day? Why was there no extended public viewing, no drawn-out goodbye? The Outlaws, his rap collective, later said they mixed some of his ashes with marijuana and smoked them, fulfilling a lyric from his song Black Jesus. But for the Believers, the rapid cremation wasn't a tribute, it was a missing body. It was the moment the evidence vanished, a mother's quiet decision to let her son go, followed by a cremation that left nothing behind to examine. For most, this is the tragic and final chapter. But for those who refuse to believe, the absence of a body was the first crack in the official story. And to understand how that crack widened into a full-blown legend, we have to look at the strange clues Tupac himself seemed to leave behind. The clues he left behind. To understand why the theory that Tupac is alive at 54 refuses to die, we have to examine the eerie trail of clues that fans believe the rapper left behind, almost as if he were telling the world he had a plan. Because for the Believers, Tupac didn't just disappear. He left a roadmap. The first and most powerful clue is a name. In the final months of his life, Tupac recorded an album under a brand new alias, Machiavelli. The album was titled The Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory, and it was released just months after his death. To casual listeners, it was simply a new artistic identity. But to the theorists, the name itself was a screaming hint hiding in plain sight. The alias was inspired by Niccolò Machiavelli, the 16th century Italian philosopher. And here is the detail the Believers cling to. There is a long-running idea that Machiavelli wrote about faking one's own death as a strategy to deceive enemies and escape danger. The connection seemed too perfect to be coincidence. A man fearing for his life, surrounded by enemies, suddenly adopts the name of a thinker associated with faking death, and then records an entire album about a 7-day theory right before he is shot and dies after exactly 7 days in the hospital. For the Believers, this wasn't art, it was a confession. Then there is the music video that sends chills through every theorist who watches it. The video for I Ain't Mad at Cha was filmed before the shooting ever happened, and what it depicts is almost impossible to explain away. In the video, Tupac is gunned down in a shooting. He is then shown in an ambulance-like setting, dying, before ascending to heaven dressed in a white suit. He reportedly hated the suit and the angelic imagery, but the parallels to his real-life death are staggering. A filmed shooting, a hospital, a death, all released right around the time the real events unfolded. To the Believers, the I Ain't Mad at Cha video was a prophecy, a dress rehearsal for an exit he had already planned. And it didn't stop with that one video. Fans began scouring his entire catalog for hidden messages, and they found what they were looking for everywhere. In the song Life Goes On, Tupac raps about his own funeral, describing the scene in vivid detail. Every posthumous track that surfaced was dissected line by line, with Believers convinced that Tupac was speaking to them from hiding, leaving breadcrumbs for anyone clever enough to follow. The sheer volume of music he released after his death only deepened the mystery. How could one man have so many unreleased songs ready to go? To skeptics, It simply reflected how prolific he was, recording dozens of tracks in single sessions. But to the believers, the endless stream of new Tupac music was proof that he was still out there, still recording, still alive, and feeding the world his art from a secret location. Even the words of those closest to him added fuel to the fire. Suge Knight, the man who was in the car that night, the man grazed by the same gunfire, has never fully closed the door on the mystery. In a 2017 interview, he delivered a line that sent the internet into a frenzy, saying about Tupac that with Pac, you never know. It was ambiguous, cryptic, and absolutely perfect for keeping the legend breathing. Why would the man who was right there, the man who supposedly watched his friend die, plant a seed of doubt like that unless he knew something the rest of us didn't? Add to this the rapid cremation we discussed earlier, and the believers had everything they needed. A name pointing to fake death, a video that predicted the shooting, lyrics describing his own funeral, a flood of posthumous music, and cryptic words from the one man who was there. For the theorists, these weren't coincidences scattered across a tragedy. They were a deliberate pattern, a message from a man who was telling the world he had found a way out. But a trail of clues only raises the question that matters most. If Tupac really did fake his death and walk away, then where on earth did he go? And that question is where the legend takes its boldest leap. The fugitive life from Malaysia to Havana. To understand the full shape of this legend, we have to follow the believers to the most explosive part of their theory, the idea that Tupac has spent the last 3 decades living as a fugitive, hiding in plain sight in countries far from home. Because once you accept the clues, the next question is unavoidable. Where has he been all this time? The most famous version of this story sends Tupac to the island of Cuba. And this is where the theory taps into something real, something that gives it a strange and undeniable power. Tupac's family tree is filled with revolutionaries and political exiles. His godmother, Assata Shakur, is a genuine former fugitive who escaped from a U.S. prison and has lived in exile in Cuba since the 1980s, granted asylum by the Cuban government. She is real, her exile is real. And so the believers ask a question that is harder to dismiss than it should be. If his own godmother successfully disappeared into Cuba and lived free for decades, why couldn't Tupac have followed the exact same path? The narrative writes itself. A man surrounded by gang threats, record label chaos, East Coast enemies, and the suffocating prison of fame decides he has had enough. He fakes his death, undergoes plastic surgery, or uses body doubles and slips away to Cuba, where his family's revolutionary connections shield him from the world. There, on a quiet farm or in a modest home, the most famous rapper alive grows old in peace, watching from a distance as the world mourns a man who never died. It mirrors his family's real history so closely that for believers, it feels less like fantasy and more like destiny. But Cuba is far from the only destination on the map. Over the years, the theory has sent Tupac all over the globe, and one of the loudest claims came from an unexpected source, the son of Suge Knight himself. Around 2018, Suge Knight's son began posting on Instagram, strongly implying that Tupac was alive and living in Malaysia. The posts included questionable photos and set off a firestorm online. When asked directly about it later, he leaned into the mystery rather than shutting it down, and he was open about the staggering effect it had.
So in January, you posted a couple Instagram things that sort of implied that Tupac was alive and in Malaysia.
The interviewer pressed him on why he had done it, and his answer revealed exactly how powerful this legend has become as a tool for attention.
Because when I said it, the whole world stopped moving. Like, everybody's like, what's going on?
And then came the part that exposed the real engine behind so many of these claims, the explosive growth that comes from feeding the myth.
Like, I went and got 200,000 followers within 2 days.
200,000 new followers in 48 hours, simply for suggesting Tupac was alive in Malaysia. That single admission tells you almost everything about why this legend never dies. There is a powerful incentive to keep it alive, and when pressed for a definitive answer on whether he truly believed it, Suge Knight's son dangled the mystery like bait, refusing to confirm or deny.
Do you believe he's alive and in Malaysia?
You just have to tune into the show for my answer.
Oh, come on.
Tune into the show. Not here's the truth, but buy a ticket and maybe you'll find out. That is the pattern that runs through nearly every sighting and every claim, and the destinations keep multiplying. Beyond Cuba and Malaysia, the theory has placed Tupac in Somalia, in Sweden, in New Mexico, and in remote rural hideouts across the United States. Each new location arrives with its own blurry photo or secondhand witness story. In recent years, especially across 2025 and 2026, social media has exploded with fresh claims. TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram fill with grainy images and dramatic captions claiming a 54-year-old Tupac has been spotted in Havana, living on a farm, or boarding a private aircraft. The faces are never quite clear. The sources are never quite verifiable. But the posts rack up millions of views all the same. The fugitive angle endures because of what it represents. A man who rapped about systemic oppression, about a world stacked against him, supposedly outsmarting every enemy and every institution to live free on his own terms. Fans project their own deepest desires onto him. The dream of escaping a toxic environment, of starting over, of disappearing from a life that has become a cage. In their minds, Tupac didn't lose. He won the ultimate victory by walking away from a world that wanted him dead and choosing freedom over fame. It is a powerful, seductive story, but a story is only as strong as the evidence beneath it. And so we arrive at the final question, the one we have been circling this entire time. After all the clues, all the sightings, and all the exotic locations, what does the actual record say about whether Tupac Shakur is really out there, alive at 54? What the record actually says? We have followed the clues, walked through the hospital, and chased the sightings from Havana to Malaysia. Now, it is time to weigh it all against a hard record and answer the question this whole story has been building toward. Is Tupac Shakur alive at 54, living a fugitive life? Here is where the evidence leads. The honest answer is that everything pointing to Tupac being alive is circumstantial, emotional, and unverified, while everything confirming his death is documented, official, and increasingly reinforced by the courts. Let's look at it plainly. On the side of the legend, we have a clever album name, a music video with eerie parallels, lyrics about funerals, a fast cremation, and a string of blurry photos. Every single one of these has an ordinary explanation. The Machiavelli name fits an artist obsessed with strategy and rebellion. And the idea that Machiavelli faked his own death is itself a myth with no solid historical basis. The I Ain't Mad at Cha video drew on imagery of death and redemption that countless artists have used. Its resemblance to his real death is haunting, but it is coincidence layered onto tragedy. The funeral lyrics reflect a man who lived with the constant awareness of death, not a man planning an escape. And the sightings, every last one of them, have never produced a single verifiable photograph, document, or credible witness in nearly 30 years. Meanwhile, the record of his death is ironclad. An autopsy was performed. The cause of death was never seriously disputed by either the authorities or the family. A death certificate was signed by the Clark County Coroner's Office. His body was identified by his family before cremation. In 1997, an autopsy photo even leaked to journalist Kathy Scott for her book The Killing of Tupac Shakur, prompting an internal police investigation into how it got out. These are not the loose ends of a fake death. They are the closed files of a real one. And then there is the development that should, by any reasonable standard, put the theory to rest. For nearly 3 decades, the murder went unsolved, which is exactly the vacuum that allowed the he's alive theory to flourish. But in September 2023, that changed. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis was arrested and charged with first-degree murder in the killing of Tupac Shakur. Prosecutors allege that Davis orchestrated the hit as revenge for that MGM Grand beatdown, that he was in the white Cadillac, and that he obtained the gun used in the shooting. Davis had even described his involvement over the years, in interviews in his own memoir, and in statements to investigators. You cannot charge a man with first-degree murder for a killing that, according to the theorists, never actually happened. The grand jury that indicted him reviewed crime scene photos and videos, witness statements, and 4 autopsy photos, including close-ups of the wounds. This is documented, sworn legal evidence of a death, not a disappearance. And the story is still moving. In April 2026, Tupac's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Los Angeles, naming Keefe D. and unnamed co-conspirators. The complaint argues that the conspiracy to kill Tupac ran far wider than a single act of gang retaliation. Notice what this means. The family itself, the very people who loved him most, is fighting in court over his murder. They are not searching for a man hiding in Havana. They are seeking justice for a death they have never once doubted. So why does the theory survive even now? Because it was never really about evidence. It is about grief and denial and the refusal of millions to let go of a voice that spoke for the voiceless. It is about a deep distrust of official narratives, hardened by 27 years of an unsolved case. It is about the beautiful, painful fantasy of an eternal revolutionary who beat the system and lived free. Even the 2023 arrest didn't kill the theory. For some, it simply shifted into new shapes, into claims that they arrested the wrong man, or that the whole thing is a cover-up. But following the actual record, the conclusion is clear. There is no credible evidence that Tupac Shakur is alive at 54, living as a fugitive in Cuba, Malaysia, or anywhere else. There is a documented shooting, a 6-day hospital fight witnessed by his own mother, an autopsy, a death certificate, a cremation, a man charged with his murder, and a family suing over his death 3 decades later. The fugitive life is one of the most powerful and enduring myths in modern culture. But it remains exactly that, a myth kept alive not by proof, but by how deeply one man touched the people who refused to say goodbye. And perhaps that is the real story here. Not that Tupac escaped death, but that in the hearts of millions, he never truly will. If you enjoyed this video, click on any of the cards on your screen.